Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people, he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side, he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools, and our honored dead who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn they're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of men on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Welcome back to a breaking news episode with the Logbook podcast and Common Denominator Network. We'd like to thank our viewers. We finally hit 1,000 viewers. We are a pretty new podcast. We started around the holidays?
Around the holidays, yeah. So it's been 4 months, 5 months now. It's nuts.
Absolutely.
I just want to say thank you all. Thank you all for following.
We appreciate you so much.
And now we'd like to introduce to you from the road, Mama Sally.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Mama Sally, how you doing?
I'm trekking it up. Headed back to get another load of food to go somewhere.
Well, thank you for all your hard work, Sally. You know, it's with these supply chain issues, it's nice to see someone out there doing their part.
Hey, people got to know that we're working hard for them, making sure they have exactly what they need in these grocery stores.
Right. And I do like the eclectic group that we have here at Common Denominator Network and the job fields that everyone does. We have someone in computer, someone in legal. We have presentation, and then we have someone who worked in the media for a while. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting clique of what Common Denominator Network has to offer. So it's several different viewpoints, several different experiences. So that's why we sometimes come together is we sometimes don't agree all the time. And I like having those viewpoints. But again, we can show the world how civility is the definition of civility, I would say.
Yes, it's very important. It doesn't have to be you agreeing with everybody all the time. Those aren't really friends. Friends you have arguments with. Friends you have fights with. Especially those closest to you. But anyway. It's important that we remain civil with each other, or else we're never going to get anywhere. Right. And that's kind of the example that we like to set.
And I'll be honest
Well,
with
sometimes we have to agree to disagree on some topics, but on a lot of topics we do agree on. And that's the important thing. You have to find the common ground to where you can move forward through society.
That's right. Well, we do have a very special event tonight. Last year, Dakota and I went to a Veterans Affairs town hall with Lizzie Fletcher to where she didn't let a single veteran speak. And then she called my issue a non-veteran issue. Do you want to go ahead and bring that up?
Yes,
Dakota?
absolutely. We'll throw that up right now.
I know it's a big deal for my granddad.
There I am in my cowboy hat.
I'm sorry, I know the question is about hearing aids. I think there's another question here relating to non-veterans issues, which I couldn't hear over your question, but I think the question is about hearing aids at the VA. So I'm just going to go ahead and the question, I believe. Excuse me, you all, this is a community conversation, and the goal here, several people have had their hands raised.
All right. Well, just for context, there you had those people in the white shirts protesting Lizzie Fletcher or demanding to speak to Lizzie
Sean.
Fletcher. Hey, Sean.
How are you?
What's up? So what they were doing is they were demanding why does Veterans Affairs have abortion services and not able to give labor and delivery services? It seems really backwards. And
They should have both, because you have women in the military that are going to require both services.
Right. And Lizzie deflected that question by saying that live birth is a non-veteran issue.
Well, and that rolls into so this week we actually went to Lizzie Fletcher's town hall and take a look.
Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Thanks to all of you for being here.
I will say this, every single town hall that I went to with a conservative, necessarily Republican, because we do have grassroots, and even moderates, always open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Some actually do the Texas flag. And then some will pray. Your more Republican conservatives will pray, but your moderates always will pledge allegiance to the flag. And Lizzie ran as a moderate, and she is far from it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and go. Just walked in. It's all about her.
I'm looking around, so I know folks are still coming in. And this light is not going to work, which is just fine. But I'm so glad to be with y'all this evening. Thrilled that you're here and that we can get together for this, as Shirley said, our first quarterly town hall of 2023 with a report on what is happening in Washington and here at home in the congressional district. And I'm really thrilled to see so many people here today. I'm also particularly excited and grateful to see Fort Bend County Judge KP George here with us tonight. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for being here. And thank you so much to we're just getting started.
Not very well.
Protesters protesting the protest.
But I will be happy to go through the presentation that I prepared for our residents here tonight, and then also for the questions that we received from y'all.
You know, I will say that this lady did respect and sit down so others could be. Look at there. Armed police officers.
Armed police officers.
What kind of climate justice can voters expect from you while you continue to take petrodollars from the fossil fuel industry? Will you be running another dirty primary campaign with your Exxon Democrat and DCC friends, helping you to muscle your way into office once again?
Hey, let her speak. I didn't come here to listen to you.
How much money have you taken from industry, from neoliberal Wall Street banks, from Exxon, and from APAC.
Hey, you feel better?
And you don't do it too? Why do you not support universal health care and continue to support profit-driven health care while your district has some of the worst inequality and poverty in the country, with 50% of some zip codes uninsured? Those are my questions for the town hall.
Goodbye now. Thank you.
It'd be great if y'all could
Yeah, let's go ahead and pause it.
So, by the issues this guy speaking up is talking about, he sounds like he has a more democratic leaning, a more left leaning on the side of the aisle.
Mhm.
And the reason he votes Democrat is he's very passionate about climate and climate change and sustainability. So how can he trust a candidate who runs on that platform of climate change and sustainability, yet he believes that Lizzie Fletcher takes money from large oil companies?
So this is wonderful to see in my community. I absolutely love freedom of speech. We fought for it,
Yeah, absolutely.
but I got to tell you this, unlike most town halls, conservative town halls that I've been to, they vet the questions. And then you're never allowed to, even if there's not enough time for some questions, as you saw with Concerned Veterans for America with Morgan Luttrell. Morgan Luttrell went to the side and talked with everyone individually that had a question. Now, Lizzie Fletcher does is she just gets up and walks away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And her staff will not help you at all. Even if
Somehow or another, that doesn't really surprise me.
Mm. Have you ever been to any town halls?
No, I'm always on the road delivering stuff for the stores.
Keeping us fed so we can go to town halls.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I think they do that on purpose, Mom Sally, because you think so too?
I think so. I always stay busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I will say this. I have noticed a lot more of the Democratic town halls and meetups are closer to working hours, extremely close to working hours. Whereas the right side of the aisle, they're waiting till later at night so people can get home from work, get changed, get cleaned up, make it out there, have time to actually be a part of an event. And that's been my experience anyway.
Yes. And
I think I'm going to start looking into the town halls here in Oklahoma where I live and see if they're having them. And if they are, I'm going to try to, get to the ones on my day off. I get one day off a week. But, who knows? Maybe there's one on one of my days off I can go to. And I can see, what's going on.
Yep. I mean, I was actually talking to a state representative, and I was talking, of course, this legislation in Northwest Florida. Hold on, let's answer Sean here. Okay. In Northwest Florida, they make them at a time people are at work typically. Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's a hit against DeSantis right there. But in our Texas legislature, I was talking with a few state reps, and I said, what it is, when you go to the Capitol here in Texas, and as you can see, we check in frequently with y'all. We'll throw on a live Facebook video that, hey, we're in the Capitol that day, or we'll show you pictures on who we met with. And I met with a lot of the representatives, and I even said, hey, can we, for the next legislation session, can we incorporate Patriot Days, where if anyone has a problem or needs to go vote or speak at the Senate hearings or anything like that, they can get 3 days off a year. And I know that there is a bill for making Election Day a holiday.
Yeah, there is. The thing is, my idea, in my opinion, is a bit more extreme. I think that government employees and elected officials should have different working hours than everybody else. Because I think they should be working. They should have Monday and Tuesday off and work Wednesday through Sunday. That's my opinion, so that we can have the time to go up. Because the thing is, we elected them. They work for us, and we should decide what their work schedule is.
Right. And when I actually go up to the Capitol, I'm going to tell you right now, the majority of people on the loony left are the ones that are on welfare, or the ones that I say use their disabilities to identify their character.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. Oh, Paul had an idea.
Yeah, or at least Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. I agree. And you know what? Here's guys, just go and talk to your state reps. They really love it when you come in and talk to them. They really, really do. And sometimes,
Well, some of them will if they're on the up and up.
Yeah, they
But if they're shady or shysty, you know, they may not want you in there.
yeah. Honestly, I've even talked to Democrats, and she was so adorable, the staff member. However, she was so respectful. She didn't agree with me, but then she said, "Oh, you work with veterans? I have a friend. Can you help me?" And then I just turned around and hugged her. I was like, exactly. It's nice for you to see it that way. And then me out when I explained to her my situation. And she said, I don't agree with the situation. However, I would like to look at something else that might benefit you. Can I take your name and number? Let me look at some legislation that could benefit that we agree with, because I still want to help you. And you know what? She emailed me the next day. So even visit your Democrats when you go in, guys. Sometimes they're not that bad. They are people too.
And sometimes you will lie.
They're people too, but I mean, I have a nephew who's a Democrat. We have neutral ground. A lot of things we do agree on, but there are some things we will never agree on.
Yep. That's what I'm saying, but I agree with you on that, Mama Sally. But I do like that the ones that work in the office, they're still pretty respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Some of them are. I have met some Democrats that were just absolutely mean and spiteful.
Yeah, Hojinosa. You're in Texas. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of really moderate people out there. There's people that, you know, want gays to get married, own guns, and grow pot. That's what.
Yeah,
there you go.
I actually met that group. Yeah. They're hilarious. Well, let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who are here tonight who came to participate in the town hall, and I'm here to share with you an update on what we're doing. So I think it would be really helpful if y'all could move to the left. This is a democracy. You can ask your questions and you can make your points. Of course, that is how it works in the United States. But I would love a chance to give you all the update.
You gonna let us ask questions?
Why don't we first listen to her?
And in addition to Judge George, I see Sheriff Fagan here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Sheriff Fagan.
So y'all will be allowed to stay here if she moves, but if you come over there, please don't do that, all right? There's a law in Texas called interrupted deliberative session. We want you to be able to do it here to exercise your First Amendment rights. Exactly. At the same time, we want to allow you. Are you all okay with that?
Terrific. Okay, problem solved. Let's It's great to see you. Thank you so much, Sheriff Fagan, for being here. And thanks to all of our law enforcement.
Got anything to say about that?
Well, it's nice to see that she had help moving that.
No, I when we were watching this, y'all can stay over there, says a person with a gun and security. But if you come over here, it's going to be a problem. This is a public event. This is at a public campus. It is invited to the public. You know, these people should be able to stay where they want. Mm-hmm. And he said if we move to another room, there's a problem. Well, no, let these people speak. These people here are heavy Democrats that are protesting her, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, Paul had a question.
I'll throw that. What do the signs say? And signs say, don't take dirty money. There's something to that effect.
Yeah, there's a bill that she's actually written, and then they have silence on their tape on their face. And I understand what they're talking about. When you call Lizzie Fletcher, she doesn't care. She's going to do what she wants. But Paul also said, this is for you, Sally. To get off subject, but where is Mama Sally's home in Oklahoma? He was stationed at Fort Sill, and it's one of his favorite places.
I do deliver groceries up around there. I'm about 65, 70 miles from Fort Sill.
That's a good one.
Well, I think you have a bit of an admirer, Mama Sally. I think Paul might come up and visit you sometime.
Well, back in the day, I actually did deliver freight on the base there at Fort Sill all the time. So, they may know me. Who knows?
All right, let's get back to it.
Officers who are here tonight. Judge George, we're so honored to have you here with us. Grateful for your leadership in Fort Bend County, and I am thrilled to be here.
Why is Fort Bend in Harris County?
Town hall that we have been able to do here at the University of Houston in Sugar Land. As Shirley mentioned, we do a quarterly town hall, and I have ever since I was elected and first took office in January of 2019. We like to do them all across the district as well as on the telephone, and of course during the pandemic we did virtual town halls, really increasing access.
He silenced everyone on those virtual town halls.
To share a little bit about what's happening. So I have a PowerPoint to go through with you with some updates on what's happening in Washington and the work that I'm doing on behalf of Texas's 7th Congressional District. So I will get started. Hopefully this will work. Okay, so the 118th Congress convened in January of this year. As many of you know, because I heard from a lot of people who had their first experience watching a whole lot of C-SPAN, it took a while to get organized, and we elected, the Speaker of the House was elected after 15 rounds of voting. It was the first time in more than 100 years that it took that long to elect the Speaker of the House. I, of course, am a member of the House Democratic Caucus and cast my vote each time for Hakeem Jeffries, who's the Democratic leader, and was just honored and proud to be able to cast my vote for him, and look forward to the day when he is the Speaker of the House, as I've now voted 15 times to make him the Speaker of the House. But we convened in January, and what happens every single Congress takes a while to make sure get committee assignments and get working. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, my committee assignments and what we're doing. But first, I'm going to show you all this map of the 7th Congressional District. And one of the reasons
he's so time wasting, like we don't know.
To be here at U of H in Sugar Land is that this is the first time that I have had the opportunity to represent Fort Bend County in the Congress. Many of you know, because I see many familiar faces here in the crowd, every 10 years, there's the census. After the census, there's reapportionment of the congressional districts throughout the country, and certain states, it's all based on population, so certain states want seats, certain states gain seats. In Texas, we gained 2 additional congressional seats. One of those seats was drawn here in the Houston area, and so the district lines moved throughout Texas. And this is a map of the 7th Congressional District. As you'll see, there's some big indicators on there, so you can get a sense of the scope.
Let's start a tally. Let's do an tally.
At Main Street in Midtown and running west and running right here to where we are at U of H in Sugar Land. Okay, so the 118th Congress at a glance. As I mentioned, we got a little bit of a slow start, but we have had 182 roll call votes in the House, and that's votes on everything. Some are procedural motions, some are substantive motions. The House has passed 43 bills. The good news there is that some of these bills are bipartisan bills that pass with broad agreement. Things like a bill we passed to protect consumers, to make sure that if If someone is selling devices that has either a microphone or a camera and you don't know, many of us read the article about the Roombas that have cameras in them and other things. There's now a disclosure requirement. There's some other bills like that that have passed with broad bipartisan consensus. But there have been some very contested bills, and so the total number of bills that have been sent to President Biden to sign is 3 so far in the first 3 months of the year. President Biden vetoed one of those bills, and it came back to the House, and it did not, there were not enough votes to override the veto. I had voted against the bill in the first place. But President Biden has signed 2 bills into law so far this Congress. In terms of my work for the 7th Congressional District and for everybody here, I've so far introduced 5 bills, and I'm gonna do a whole slide on those. And I've co-sponsored.
Yeah, I agree with that one too.
This
That's
is
probably
an ongoing
one of the things I
process
do
where,
agree on. That is
a lot of
bipartisan.
times you introduce bills Congress after Congress.
The what?
They don't necessarily move.
God.
And so
Let me
I
pause
have
this.
a few.
Sean put up here, and yes, your Roomba can be hacked. I actually agree with Lizzie on that one. Gosh, I'm counting the ums with her. We're already at, I counted 16.
16. I'm at 15. I must have missed one.
Yeah. So I'm like so focused on ums. I'm going and now it's annoying me.
Yeah, no, it's really annoying. But yeah, no, like it's even worse, like with the Roomba cameras, because now they have LiDAR and they can virtually map your home.
Right. So China.
Yeah, China.
China.
But yeah, the one thing we can agree on is vacuum cleaners.
But there was several legislation that she did say, they did say there that was supposed bipartisan. We all know this. We're not stupid. We know that the majority of the House and the Senate was Democrat. So really, is it bipartisan at this point? You also, as Democrats, you censor your district.
Well, I will say that there are several bills that the Democrats have crossed party lines and voted yays on. I've been watching, what's been going on up there.
So Lizzie is actually in the lower house, but she's just as dangerous as AOC.
True.
Yeah.
True. Very true.
She doesn't get much of a spotlight.
The thing is, it's also the amount of power that Lizzie has because of some of the committees she's on. Because she's in Houston, her district's in Houston. She's on the energy committee, one of the energy committees.
Well, so is Morgan Luttrell.
No, so is Morgan Luttrell.
And I guarantee you, when he comes up and he speaks to her in direct way, she's going to scream misogyny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think she started doing these quarterly, as she says it, town halls, because she sees Morgan Luttrell getting more popular than she is.
Well, that's lie number one. It's not been quarterly. Her last town hall was the VA town hall.
A year ago.
It was not.
Ooh.
No, it was in November.
So we can actually say liar, liar, pants on fire.
Absolutely. We'll be able to say it now, even more throughout here. So let's get going.
Mm-hmm.
A few of those to talk about that did pass last year. I'll get to those in a few minutes. But as people reintroduce bills that matter, I will go ahead and co-sponsor those bills again. And so one of the things that's incredibly important to me and to our team as we work is to hear from you about the bills that matter to you, about the kinds of bills that you want to see. Certainly I don't expect everybody to monitor congress.gov every day and see what's been filed, but it's very important that constituents share their priorities, that their desires. Right now we're hearing from a lot of folks because we're working on the budget and appropriations, and so people will say, every year you fund the National Institutes of Health, and that's really important, we want to see that. Or every year, we want to make sure there's proper funding for CDC, for law enforcement grants. There's all kinds of priorities in our community that people share with us, and that's really
We don't want
important
to see the American Gas for Allies Act.
Well, I'm going to talk about the American Gas for Allies Act in just a minute. Let me tell you, we've had six hearings in the Energy and Commerce Committee. I skipped over that. I serve on the House Committee on Energy and Commerce. That's one of the exclusive committees in Congress, and I was really pleased to be able to keep my seat that I had in the last Congress as well on that committee. We have arguably the broadest jurisdiction of any committee in Congress, and so many things come across. I mentioned consumer protection, of course, energy issues, healthcare falls under the jurisdiction of energy and commerce, communications and technology also falls under the jurisdiction of energy and commerce, and I serve on a subcommittee on energy and commerce. So we've had 6 hearings so far, some of them have been very long. And we've also had 5 markups, and a markup is where you debate the bills, you engage a little bit more with each other, offer amendments, and try to pass legislation out of the committee to recommend it to the full House. We've had 5 markups, and in those 5 markups, we've considered 62 different bills. So that's my work on the Energy and Commerce Committee. As I mentioned, I've introduced 5 bills. The first, the Ensuring Women's Right to Reproductive Freedom Act. This is a bill I introduced in the last Congress, responding to what we're seeing happening on the ground here in Texas, and we got a lot of questions about this, so I'll talk about this a little bit more too. But what we have seen in Texas after SB 8 was enacted, and then following the decision in the Dobbs case last summer, is that abortion care is absolutely inaccessible to Texans, and that despite that, some of our legislators here in Texas and some others have threatened those people who've gone out of state to get that care, threaten their right to travel and their ability to leave the state to get that care. So I introduced a bill that we passed last July, and we passed it out of the House, but we did not get it passed in the Senate. This bill protects the right to travel across state lines, which is a constitutional right that has been recognized. It's as old as this country. It's certainly one of the key privileges and immunities granted in the Constitution, the right to freely travel between the states. Many people think it shouldn't be, but what we see is that in this moment, Texas isn't the only state where people are threatening people's right to travel. And so it's really important. I'm very proud that we passed it, and I introduced it again to make sure that we can continue to advance this key priority and key protection of our fundamental rights. So that is a bill that I was able to introduce with 150 co-sponsors, which is a lot. I'm very, very proud of the work that we did, and we're going to keep fighting on that issue to make sure that we...
Okay.
So she's for abortions.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely pro and unabashed by it.
So what happened is that Congresswoman Brownlee, who is part of the Veteran Women's Task Force, she was rounding up female veterans for their town halls. Now, when you go to these town halls, you have these cue cards. I know that several of you veterans who have come with us, we are so sick and tired of cue cards. I was even ticked off at CBA for it, because when you give cue cards, that announcer takes it and say, oh, it's about me. They don't know the person's name that's struggling, and they don't give credit usually most of the times at veteran town halls because it's about them. And we resent that at veterans because we really genuinely have issues. So they don't have cue cards there at Lizzie Fletcher's event. You have to go online. You have to register and ask your question. And even then, it's only possible that you will get your question asked. You can clearly see here, she is filibustering. Why the heck is she talking?
Big time.
Yeah. Like we didn't know what happened with the House.
And
well, I mean, it's like she's there to give a lecture and not to answer any more questions than she has to.
No, she's there to let the peasants know what's going on. That's what it is. And I want to bring up Paul Gunderson's question, or his comment that he put it at Morgan Luttrell's town hall. They don't have these outbursts, and I truly think even if you don't agree with something that Morgan is saying or does, he can talk to you, make you feel comfortable about why he's approached a certain way.
Even his staff is that way. I know, Paul, you aren't a fan of one member of his staff. but that's even that staffer will give you the time of day.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed even at Wesley Hunt's office, please, Wesley Hunt, hurry up and have your next town hall. I can't wait to be there.
But you see, Paul and anyone else wondering why there's these outbursts, because these people know these are her constituents who've gone to past town halls. They know that's the only way that they will get their voice heard is to be unruly, because she's not going to give them the time to speak.
Exactly. And we've experienced that ourselves. So, I mean, y'all can check it out on Facebook. We actually did where Lizzie Fletcher's lives. You saw it in that video. I was respectful. I know there was some protesters on the side of us. But during Lizzie's whole event, I was respectful. I kept my hand raised. Now, when she said that it was over and did not ask a single veteran a question and wouldn't let a single veteran speak, and even at her town hall, on that one, you didn't have to register. Okay, it was an open VA town hall.
Yep.
So we're supposed to raise our hands, but 15 minutes of Baker Ripley electioneering is what happened.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
So it was just a lecture and not a real town hall.
No, that's normal.
That sucks.
It's not even that at the veteran town hall. So she actually had a panel of people there, and all they were there is to praise Lizzie Fletcher in her work that she's doing.
She had minions.
Yep. Hey, we have Vincent down in our studio. Hey, Vincent, did you want to come up and join our town hall? Okay, well, if you do, just send us a message, bud. All right, let's go ahead and continue.
All right.
You want to?
Come on, Vincent.
Come on, Vincent. Come on up here.
Hey, guys, how are you?
Vincenzo, what's up, buddy?
Oh boy, I was just listening to what you said. It's amazing that these people are full of so much grandiosity of their own existence.
Absolutely.
That they look down upon the peasants, and you're going to listen to what I have to say, and I don't care of any thoughts that you have at all.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating because these men and women that served, and as well as myself, I mean, and Sally, I know, you know what I'm talking about here. And Sally, you have served America in a different way. I mean,
oh yes, sir. 23 and a half years I've been making sure food and building supplies and whatever, paper supplies and
that's called a patriot. But truthfully, you're looking at the people saying, we don't want to hear what you have to say. We don't care about any of your concerns. What is the definition of tyranny? Excuse me. He's making a joke, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
agreed. I mean, she's being a jerk.
She would be the poster child of tyranny. One of the many out there.
Well, I will say.
I mean, it's sad that she considers herself a moderate conservative.
Mm-hmm. She did. She's not a conservative. She did run on a moderate ticket when she got elected. But just to let everyone know that Vincent here is also a United States Navy sailor. Hoo-yah. So there's a lot of veterans on our podcast, actually.
Tonight there are anyway, yeah.
Hoo-yah, indeed.
Yep, that's the way it is. So y'all ready to get going?
Yeah, let's continue.
Can protect the rights of Texans and all Americans when it comes to our right to travel and our right to our own reproductive freedom. The next bill I am really excited about is the reinvesting in shoreline economies and ecosystems. I have a whole slide on that, so I'll sort of skip over that. American Gas for Allies Act, as you've heard, there's some folks here who don't like that bill. I do like the bill. I think it's important because what it does is make it possible for our allies in Europe to get access to American LNG as they are trying to cut themselves off and cut off from Russian supplies of oil and gas because they're fighting a war, and because the Ukrainians, because of their protection in Ukraine, what we are seeing, the Russian invasion of Ukraine that's totally unjustified, has changed the dynamics across the continent of Europe, and they need access to energy sources as quickly as possible. They need to not be dependent on Russian oil and gas, and what we have right now is that any countries that the United States has a free trade agreement with can get an expedited review for LNG exports. That is not true for our NATO allies that we don't have a free trade agreement with. So all this does is put our NATO allies in Europe who are fighting and assisting our allies in Ukraine to have the same procedural opportunities to get an expedited review of LNG exports.
Of your constituent communities is what it does.
Why do you take so much money from the fossil fuel industry?
Put your tape over your mouth and wait your turn.
I'm going to keep talking
Wow.
about the bill. I think it's really important for us to have a robust energy policy that addresses all of the challenges that we face in this moment. And it's one of the things that I think is really important for Houstonians to do, for me to do as a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, and to talk about the energy transition, how we get from where we are to where we want to be, how we do it in a way that protects our environment, that protects our communities, and how we do it in a way that's responsible. What we know right now is that in Europe, the challenges they face in terms of powering their economy, turning the lights on because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, are severe and intense. And if we can help our allies in Europe, that is something that we absolutely can and should do. I appreciate that.
Dang! Put the tape on your mouth.
At the beginning, I don't know how she put the reproductive system and the transportation. Did I miss something? How did they go together?
Well, she helped push abortion inside Veteran Affairs. She has a new bill that would make abortion available for women so there are women who are leaving the state of Texas who are getting abortions. They are actually getting in trouble for that, as they should. I am not going to hide. I know that this is a military page, but I am pro-life. I think we've dealt enough with death in our job.
Mhm.
We should be about life.
And of course, we also have to remind everyone that abortion clinics are used as a form of birth control. At 98% of abortions are birth control. They have nothing to do with a rape or an incest, as near as much, or the mother's life. That usually comes out to about 1.67, almost 2%. So 98% of abortions are, in fact, a birth control measure.
And I will say this: women, we have access to it. A guy goes buys a condom, we can sit there and do it's personal responsibility. So what they don't understand and women don't get, abortions are surgeries. Flat
Well,
out.
it's not only that, they're organ harvesting. They're also getting the DNA for sequencing. I mean, really, people?
Oh yeah, there's a lot into abortion, but she has a bill to stop women in Texas for getting in trouble for it. I have a lot of issues with that. If you don't like it where you live, leave.
Thing is, it is such an antiquated procedure.
It is to me.
If you're just talking about birth control, not to mention immoral in that, but just from a birth control perspective, it is antiquated. So why is there such a huge push on such old technology?
Right. That's what it is. You have these mothers that are sitting there, in their 50s or 60s, acting like birth control was like it was in the 70s. It's not. It is way more effective. There's spermicides. There's so much things that you could do. Even women in the military, if you had intercourse, walk up to the pharmacist and go get it. A plan B.
Yeah.
And plan B, and for you conservatives, plan B is not an abortion pill. It doesn't do that. Plan B is a contraceptive. It is birth control, but a high dose. And the reason you only have what I would say 3 days to go get it after you have sex, it's there to prevent. So no life is formed, nothing's there. It's a normal birth control.
Yeah, I don't want to, I'm going to just say it like this, would be kind of a sloughing of the uterus, just so to remove it. Could you guys put up Paul Gunderson's statement? I've got, I'd like to read that, but I'd like to read it aloud.
Which one?
Paul, right there. How about you?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Paul, I love this one. Paul asks, how about you get your president, meaning her, to let Americans use our oil and gas that's in our ground? The thing is, they have already, if I'm not mistaken, they've dropped down our strategic oil reserve. Am I correct?
Yes.
And that means, of course, Hunter Biden, we all should know this. Hunter Biden has stock in the Chinese company over there where they've taken that oil from our reserves that we desperately need for our military if something were to happen in a battle or war. And so that would be number one. Number two, of course, they're killing America by not allowing us to use our natural resources until maybe there would be a good time for which to have, a new replacement as far as an alternative fuel source, be it I think it's nuclear fission.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's about another 10, 15, 20 miles down the line, correct?
No.
No, fusion.
Fusion.
We're using nuclear fission currently in nuclear plants.
Yeah.
It's fusion that we're developing.
Correct. And so fusion would be more of an encapsulated, smaller type of doses that we can maybe use in vehicles, for instance.
So I think that it's great because she's talking about her other piece of legislation that she wants to pull through, is that this is all about the war in Ukraine. This girl clearly has no idea. She's not on the Armed Services Committee. She doesn't even care about veterans. I know I've called and talked to her office completely, and they're just deer in headlights when it comes to veteran issues. And then where they send, get this. Do you know where they send the people to train? They send them to Wounded Warrior Program to train about veterans and veteran issues. And none of our legislation that would really help veterans gets passed.
Wow.
What do you think, Vincent, though, on her bill for oil?
But with her bill for what?
Her energy bill that she was talking about, oil, gas, and all that.
Well, I didn't get to hear. All I kept hearing was blah, 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 blah. Russia, Russia, Ukraine. We know where there's a war. Why are you worried about what's happening in Russia?
Your parents are deaf, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I mean, my ears are deaf. One, I have to say they were, because as I was explaining, why isn't she looking at correcting what's happening here in her state? Why does she have to talk about things that really, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all are not happy paying and having our tax dollars sent over there. That's for sure. We know that. But at the same time, why isn't she trying to say, hey, to her president, mind you, hey, Joe, why don't you open up the lines that we've got going on? And
because
actually,
she's pushing the agenda of the good old boy society in DC.
Yep.
She's not really one of us. She's one of them.
Correct. And the other thing that's really scaring me is, did you guys hear about the new movie that's out of Hollywood called How to Blow Up a Pipeline?
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
Well, we're talking about infrastructure right now as far as our country, in reference to speaking about our oil and what we can pump and put into our system, into our economic system, and into the world system, that we could get them the resources over there. But the thing is, we've got this Hollywood, believe it or not, that just put out a movie. I guarantee it's not going to make a lot of money, but if we decided collectively here, folks, to make a movie that said how to blow up a pipeline, or better yet, how to assassinate a world leader, we would be we'd be in a lot.
We'd be hung.
We'd be We'd
Oh,
be going to
we
jail.
already have, everyone would be under red flags for just walking into the theater.
But
Oh my God.
seriously, yeah, they've got this movie. It's called How to Blow Up a Pipeline. And I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't sound like it's going to be a fun movie to watch. Why? Why is America being entertained with such hateful stuff?
Because they're brainwashing us. They're trying their best to brainwash us and push the agenda. I'm sorry, but you know what? I've been watching it for years and years and years, and it just irritates me that they have their agenda that they have to push to try to make as many crazy, insane, asinine people out here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we started out with the drag queen show. We did the Survivor show to show people how to survive when you ain't got no food in the stores.
Well, who knows? Maybe everyone think they can just run over to the New Jersey shoreline, do a little snorkeling, and I don't know, let the sun and some. I think they would need, of course, some lemon at least or lime to put it in the sun, to let it cook within 15 minutes. But I don't think you're going to get very good stuff off the New Jersey shoreline, let alone, well, anywhere north
Well,
of.
they had enough to make a TV show called Jersey Shore.
It's opiate of the masses, y'all. That's what it is.
Oh, well, Sean Breyer Lowry says George Orwell, 1984 in real time. Actually, we think it's more Brave New World.
Yeah, it is way more Brave New World because Eddie's getting exactly what they want. So,
Yeah. It's all about stimulants.
mhm.
Let's keep going, guys.
Yep.
Yes.
Let's rock on. I want to see how much more craziness she's going to spew.
It's just weird.
I think it's more.
Okay, two more sort of broadband related bills, a hugely important issue we know across the country. People want access to the internet. We all do. We all want to be to have reliable internet access. In some areas it's easier to get than others. And one of the challenges that we have seen is making sure that the money that we have put in the Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act can roll out to communities and that those things can be implemented. So we have a plan based on, again, experience from folks in Houston and our area who have built out this infrastructure to help communities build out that infrastructure by providing grants to make the permitting process faster, to do a lot of really practical things. And then that's the Broadband Incentives for Communities Act, and then there's the Reforming Broadband Connectivity Act, and this basically deals with the fees that are collected on the telephone, on telephone use that disproportionately affects seniors, which I reintroduced with my colleague Jonah Goose from Colorado. So those are the 5 bills. And I said I had its own slide. It's so pretty that I didn't want to bypass this, but this is something I'm extremely proud of. It is bipartisan, bicameral legislation, has Senate sponsors and a coalition. I'm the lead sponsor in the House with some other Democrats and some Republicans to help address a couple of things. One, it helps protect coastal communities, and you'll see a little bit of why I think this is so important. One thing it will do is create a dedicated funding stream from offshore wind leases that goes back to the states for coastal restoration. So here, when we look at some of our challenges, when we look at the things that are we would like to be able to do in terms of our infrastructure, we also know that there are very limited funds. So many of y'all are probably familiar with the Ike Dike project. We've been talking about it for 15 years now, ever since Hurricane Ike. And the Army Corps of Engineers has worked on it with a lot of other folks and has come up with what is roughly a $30 billion project to help protect the Texas coast, the Texas Coastal Spine Project. I just want to take a second in the middle of talking about this bill to say that I see Commissioner Prestage here. Thank you so much for coming, Commissioner.
Oh, yay, go, Rocky, go.
being here. I was just talking about my bill I'm so excited about. Again, we introduced it in the last Congress, couldn't get it over the finish line. But what we see with like the Ike project, for example, is that's about a $30 billion project. Every year, the Army Corps of Engineers gets between $2 and $4 billion in congressional appropriations for all of the projects across the country. And we know that when we did the infrastructure bill, there was a $100 billion project backlog. So as I see it, the only way we're gonna get these projects done is to find another funding source. We're gonna have to find another stream of funding, and this is one way to do it. It may not cover everything, but it is a way to collect funds that are gonna be used for coastal restoration, resiliency, coastal projects. Certainly the issues around climate are things that we are worrying about and dealing with on our coast, and these are practical things that we can do to help communities respond. So I'm very excited about this bill. It also does a couple of other things to help raise the revenue caps, but I will skip those for now and talk about a couple of bills that did get passed since our last town hall meeting.
Wow.
No, there was a lot there. I will say that.
I hate to say it, but she is no way, shape, form, or fashion a moderate. She is pushing the leftist agenda down your throat through this town hall.
You know, you made a good point on that, Sally. And what I really picked up on is her fast talking without making really complete sentences about, because what I got was grants for the internet, fees for the elderly for their telephone. And all I can say from what I've been told, consumer cellular, I'd give them a thumbs up for the elderly. I mean, they've got good service and it's cheap, $25 a month.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what. All I heard was money, money, money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing that I heard was, and she showed the picture of this coastal, this beautiful coastal landscape of all these windmills.
Oh no, just she's calling on the aesthetics of the slide.
Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to inference is, folks, what you don't see are the whales that have been beaching themselves because of the vibrations that are emitted from these windmills out in the waters. It really throws off their equilibrium, as one would say. I'll liken it to like this. If you spin a child around enough and they've got the stick and they're blindfolded and you tell them to go swing real hard at the piñata, but you turn the piñata, instead you put their back to the piñata, they hit grandma in the head. And that's what's happening. They're not hitting the piñata. The whales are going and beaching. And I'm not saying that that's causing all of it, but from the little bit of studies that I've seen so far, it seems to be that is the case. So we don't need that kind of stuff out in our oceans. And it's messing up all the fishing for the captains as well. So.
And I mean, it's really jacking with the migratory patterns of animals and birds.
Yes, your birds and your butterflies are tremendously affected by this. See, for every action, there's a reaction. Until we start realizing we need to slow down and just stop just jumping and all these little tricks that they're doing. And it really, they wouldn't need the money then. If they would just do a little bit more research and say, got to figure something else out, folks.
I mean, it's sort of like when she starts talking about climate change. Climate change is the biggest Ponzi scheme they have.
We are living
the Z generation is just following hook, line, and sinker for. Mother Nature has a cycle. She's going through her cycles.
And Kim, let's talk more about your money.
Okay, so this is all I heard in all of this is that we need internet. So now she's obviously been lobbied by an internet provider. Boom, kickback. Building for coastal restoration, another kickback. From what other energy companies? That's all it is I'm supporting this because I've been approached by a company and it's boom, kickback. So she doesn't really care. What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. It's destroying the coastline in order to save it. That's It makes zero sense to do this. And the thing is, yes, it is affecting the environment, not only like birds and butterflies, but bees as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, bees as well.
Farmers.
And farmers were not, because butterflies and bees are responsible for pollinating a lot of crops.
Sure.
Yes.
And you guys do know that Albert Einstein said, if the bee population gets to the point that we really don't see it for 4 years, the world's going to.
We're in trouble.
Yes, we're in major trouble.
Paul Gunderson said he was in Fort Lauderdale, and and I remember they did this because we did it with in Mayport too. We had to be very careful as a military about the sea turtles. You have to turn off your lights. You can't go onto beaches at certain times because of the turtles. But now you want to build this big wind energy equipment.
Well, you're talking about the turtles down in Puerto Vallarta. They've got these little sanctuaries built. It looks like a mini Arlington, believe it or not. All these little crosses which show a date and how many and the location of where these little turtles were found. And they have them all in buckets, and they have them underneath lights to incubate them. And then you can pay $2, and the next day they tell you all about the Riley-back turtle, which I had the opportunity to explain to everyone because the young Mexican boys couldn't speak English that well, but we had a great time together doing it. But you have to wash your hands in the salt water to remove the oils off your hands, so that when you get one of these little guys and you put it out to the line, to the ocean, as they go out, they're actually blind. So they don't see for like 24 to 48 hours until they're out in the water. Then they can see, but the lights, they have a tendency to come too. So.
Well, just to let you know that our Lizzie Fletcher count is up to 47.
I remember doing that in Puerto Vallarta when I went.
Oh, it was one of the most fascinating. I talked to a young woman. She was about 26 years old, an oceanographer. She was studying oceanography. And she she taught me so much about these turtles. For instance, if it's a female that gets released, it will come back 10 years later. So the females will come back to that area of which they were born in to lay their eggs. The leatherback turtle, I believe they said they can live, I want to say, if my memory serves me right, it's either 80 to 100 or 60 to 80 years. That's a long time for an amphibious reptile to live like that.
Well, box turtles or terrapins, they're the same thing. They come back to the same area in which they were hatched at.
Yeah. We have to find a resource. We have to figure out a way of balancing the resources, the natural resources we have around the world. And I'm not going to get onto a program. Sally, thank you. I love Zeitgeist. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to love it. But what else does this this woman?
You got it right.
You would be surprised.
Just keep it going. It's after 9.
It's after 9 now. It's after 9.
Well,
after 9. Woohoo!
What else does
3
this
minutes.
blabbering bimbo have to say?
There you go.
Right. Let's find out.
Well, you have to listen to the verbiage.
Last Congress that did get signed into law by President Biden at the beginning of this year. The HELP Act, which many of y'all have heard me talk about before if you've participated in it, because it's the very first bill I ever introduced in the Congress. And it was born right here in Houston, unfortunately out of Hurricane Harvey, and conversations with Steve Casello, the recovery czar, and others, the impediments that we found in trying to recover from Harvey. So this allows communities to do things like purchase land for detention without first qualifying for a federal grant, without jeopardizing the grant money. It's like a little fix, but it's going to be hugely helpful. And so I'm really, really proud of that, because the entire idea and all the work was sort of born and raised right here in the district. So I'm very proud of that. Also, the Auto for Veterans Act, which is a bill that allows veterans who have service disabilities who need modified vehicles to get around the community. It allows them to get additional vehicles after their initial purchase, and to be able to do that after 10 years. So that is really important. I did that with the chair of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Mark Takano. And then also to improve pediatric medical devices. And that's another bill that I was excited about that got signed into law.
So I gotta have to tell you, Mike Takano is not the chair of Veteran Affairs. Who's the chair? It's Mike Boss.
8 more
I know. I'm having fun with this. But no,
She's definitely a head shaker.
The thing is, to get all of that done for the veteran, you have to be approved first. We've already seen inside the VA that 70% of claims are not even processed correctly. So do you think this is really going to help veterans? Yay, I passed my virtue signaling bill, but I'm not going to care about the other issues so the veterans can actually access this. I actually agree with her bill. I'll be honest with you. Because I know this, when I was in the military, I couldn't use my feet. I had to get a car where I could drive with my hands. I had to pay extra for that. That sucked. That's not okay, but it's the military that does this.
Mm-hmm.
It was garbage. I had to pay extra for being disabled, like it was my fault for my service, and they actually hurt me. I didn't get hurt by myself. So anyways, I will also say this. This is the second time she's brought up her healthcare bill, again, proving filibustering. What do you think, Vince?
I think that she's got, like you said, there are a few things that could work as far as helping the veterans out. But the whole thing is getting into it. Like for yourself, you just said you had to pay extra for. I know myself, I often have to spend quite a bit more for some of the services I need. And thank goodness I've got the money through the government for to do that in this case. Because again, 42 years dealing with what I've had going on in my health is a long time. But, she's talking a good talk. My question is she willing to see it all the way through?
I'm betting she's not.
And if she is going to see it all the way through, what platforms of organizations are she going to have to climb to get to it, to make it all work properly? The whole thing is you've got to be able to have a realistic
to do it, unless it's going to give her credit and make her look good.
What's that? Say that again, Kim.
She's only going to do it if she can get the credit and get the attention, because she has big dreams, goals, and ambitions. But Paul Cunderson, I'd like to address you. It's our fault. We're the ones that joined, so we have to deal with it. At least that's what they're making me understand. I would agree to an extent. Yes, we chose to serve, but we didn't choose to lose our constitutional freedoms nor our benefits. When you discharge from the military, as I did, you actually get it's a contract with Veteran Affairs. They will provide for you because of this, this, and this. So honestly, the VA is in breach of contract right now.
You made a very good point about something earlier when we were talking, and if I may bring it back up, because I think the viewers probably, I see several of these individuals. I think they're vets as well. You brought this up. You've got a lot of men and women that come back from serving, and they really do have some. They may not have lost a limb, they may not have been injured physically, but they've got some things that they need to work out what they saw and what they lived through. And that is something that's not available to any of these veterans.
Well, you're right, because
they don't have, and I don't lack of better phraseology, and please offer me a little bit of latitude, but I call it brain health and mental health issues. And we all have them. I know I've got them.
Yeah.
But they really have some stuff they need to deal with. They've seen stuff that none of us could even imagine. I mean, you can read all the books and see all the movies, but when you're in the trenches, there's no way that.
Well, a lot of the veterans can't even get full help because they've woken up. They realize that their medical record is used against them. So when you have PTSD, they can sit there and rule you mentally defective. And if they don't like you, they will. And that's when you lose your guns. That's also when you lose, as mentally defective, the ability to control your own pay.
And that's wrong. That's
It is
wrong. They
wrong.
shouldn't lose when they come out. They should be taken care of appropriately, not try to be thrown in some trench somewhere and just so have some dirt kicked all over them
Yeah.
and fed a line of bullshit.
Yeah, the thing is, excuse me, but I am of the opinion that it's not the VA's job to make us get better. We're there to be kept ill enough that we can keep coming back on our own. That way, the way government money works, the VA gets more funding every year.
But not every veteran wants to be taken care of. They want to be helped when they need to be helped, mentally, emotionally, physically. They need the help.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These people that don't go to get help, get their issues fixed, they're not getting fixed. They're getting crippled.
Yes, they're getting it.
Well,
they're getting a Band-Aid on a laceration, for instance.
That was the easiest way. The easiest way to get the people with the most emotional and mental and physical issues out of the military. It was to give them a diagnosis of PTSD to discharge them.
Yes, and then
but once and they were, most of them only got 70%.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the rules and regulations on that. So PTSD is post-traumatic. Post-traumatic. You can't really diagnose PTSD until as in post-service. And that's a big, big issue. Another big issue is field medics. Field medics do not take down the documentation right there in the middle of war, and it's ready for the VA either. So if you have IEDs, and here's the thing, those concussions, those brain injuries that you can get, they're not clearly marked. And then you get to the VA and you say, yeah, I fought overseas. And they're like, where's the proof that you got hit by an IED?
Or what about the ones who are based on the bases, and they're going through and they get injured by friendly fire during training that have the same issues as somebody who's been in combat? Would they qualify?
No, they
should.
I actually have a friend who was she was an officer, and she got hurt at it was at the range, and she got shot at the range as an officer by a recruit.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the ass. Sorry, it's a hilarious ass story.
Nice. Tonight, I was watching Joey Jones on Fox News. If any of you know Joey Jones, he's a gentleman that was a bomb, basically a bomb. I'm lost from. He broke down bombs. What is that called? Oh, what's that?
Explosive ordnance disposal?
Yes. Thank you. So he lost both his legs, and really, I was listening to him tonight. I'm going to do a show later on this week about that whole show that I watched today. He really has a remarkable spirit. He has a very rare spirit, and I would ask everyone and anyone that if you could get a chance to start following that gentleman, if you've gone through to where sadly enough you have to deal with with what you're going through, be it a missing limb, he's a wonderful man, very inspirational, and again I think that young man has a big promising career to help veterans in the long run. He's an incredible man. So anyway, Fox News, Joey Jones, he's just a wonderful guy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and get on with it.
Yep.
At the end of the year. Okay, so caucuses. I mentioned my committee, and committees is where the work in Congress. Your committee assignment is very important. That's where you spend a lot of your time. There's a college you spend time with, but it's also really important. You can't do everything. Even though Energy and Commerce has a lot of jurisdiction, there are things that are very important in our community. So I'm a member of the New Democrat Coalition, which is a large caucus of Democrats, and I chair the Trade Task Force for that coalition.
Pro-business Democrat.
It's pro-growth, pro-trade. It's a centrist caucus, I would say, but it's very practical. It's the caucus that gets a lot of things done, and it's all about, good policy and getting things done. I also, as I mentioned earlier, I'm in the pro-choice caucus, and this year I've been appointed as the whip of the pro-choice caucus, which is something that's been very important to our constituents here in Texas in particular, but I'm really proud to be able to do that. I'm also, this year I've been in the Equality Caucus since I arrived, and this year I've been appointed as a vice chair of the caucus. Again, very proud to do that and do that work. I'm also a member of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, KPAC, and we've come together and responded importantly to some of the issues that we're seeing right here in Texas, including SB 147 in the Texas House about restrictions on land acquisition, very important to members of our community, so we've been talking about that and other issues in KPAC. I'm also on the task force to combat anti-Semitism, the gun violence prevention task force, and many, many more. We're about to start a flooding and inland resiliency caucus, name still TBD, kind of working through that. But there are just so many opportunities to engage with other members of Congress and talk about what we see in our districts and how we can come together with real another thing, I keep saying this is also new this year, but I'm really excited about. I've been appointed to the Regional Leadership Council. This is a new council that was created in this Congress by Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and it is divided into the 12 regions around which House Democrats organize ourselves. We have regions, or regions meet, and there's one member from each region that has been appointed to this council, and it is our task to work with the Biden administration on the implementation of bills that we passed in the 117th Congress and make sure that the work that we did is reaching the communities that intended, that it reaches all of our communities in our regions. And so I represent Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico in Region 6. And as I said, I put up on the slide kind of the key bills, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit, but you're hopefully all familiar with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that President Biden signed in November of 2021. Also the CHIPS and Science Act that we passed last summer to bring manufacturing, domestic manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing back to the United States.
Oh,
also
pause that. So let's bring something President Trump tried to do back to the United States, but give it the Democrat hallmark, and it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So what are the folks standing across the stage with signs there for?
They are protesting Lizzie Fletcher, which is their own congresswoman, whom they voted for.
Okay, I know it's probably been asked before. Are they for or against? I mean, I know you say protest, but are they protesting in support of?
So,
or are they just Ponzi's?
They're Democrats protesting like the oil, and
they're for the optics.
They're I would say they're not extreme though, because I agree with them.
Things they're protesting Lizzie Fletcher taking money from oil companies.
But they're still Democrats.
Yes.
And here's the thing, I'm just like, oh, where? That's what I'm saying. As you go with Democrats, you find
everything I've heard her say puts her right on the Democrat ticket. She's using all the same verbiage that the Democrats use to promote division within the population.
And the thing is she's not even a moderate Democrat. She's so left-winging. So
I mean,
are you ready?
Like a damn boomerang.
Okay, go for it.
A boomerang's pretty good. I like to say that she said that she was a whip. She reminds me more of a buoy out in the water instead of a whip. But seriously, the self-adulation of this lady. I am on this committee and I'm in charge of this committee. And you know what? That's great that you've got those titles. How about just start with this committee is doing this?
Because that's too common sense.
How about saying, and that committee has the goals of wanting to do that?
So
Instead of,
there was an African American woman behind me and everything. I'm Asian American. And when she sat there, she's on, what are you on the Asian caucus for? You're white. We were doing the same thing. And I'm like, but that's what I was saying in there is that how dare you sit here and talk about minorities and minorities victimized and not have a voice. Honestly, I don't care if she's white or anything like that. It's just the point is that you Democrats, you liberals like to sit there and say, oh, we should give opportunities for Asians or blacks and minorities. And I'm like, the step down white woman and give it to an Asian.
Yeah. Let someone who can actually do the job better than you take it. Because again, this is all about me. This is what I'm doing. But she's not saying what it is that the group or that she's representing is actually.
No, she has no idea what they're doing. And I guarantee she probably doesn't even show up. Fat pig.
I guarantee you that too. And you know, one thing I noticed between her and Morgan Luttrell, I don't believe I've ever seen a cop standing right beside Morgan Luttrell while he was speaking.
That's because Morgan doesn't need anybody. He is his own deadly weapon.
Well, that's probably true too, but you also have to understand Morgan Luttrell is surrounded predominantly, I would say, by like-minded people of common sense that he doesn't have to fear that some yin-yang is going to lose it, because that lady does fear that, someone's going to lose it in the long.
Yeah. We are going to show the next town hall next week of what happened here in Cyprus with Morgan Luttrell. And you can tell there was a lightness to the room. There was levity. There were some conflicting issues, but it was all on equal terms. It's not like how Lizzie is you're going to listen to me. This is what I have to say. And that's it.
What I find amazing is you saw Lizzie come up. She has this massive staff and security and police officers.
Oh yeah. There was how many police there? I would say at least 12.
At least 12.
And oh my gosh. The amount of cars outside the building.
Yeah, taking up all the front parking. We counted 10?
It was only 2 police officers at Morgan Luttrell's town hall, and they were both veterans.
And the last one we went to, he shows up. He sends 2 staffers ahead of him to go get the room set up. He walks them through the door with 1 staffer by himself and just starts shaking hands with everybody.
Yeah.
You would. If you didn't know better, you would think he was there to see whoever was showing up too.
Yes. He's very curious on who's all there, and he's excited. She's not excited. She's more like, oh.
She's there to give a speech. She's there to give the left narrative of their view of right.
Right.
Kiss this emblem on my capri pants, and we shall see. We shall see you. See if you'll.
I mean, the ones who are there protesting, if they're protesting against her,
they are.
I don't understand that little optical charade. I call it a charade. It's a little skit. I've got a sign. I've got tape. I don't.
Because you missed the beginning when you go to her town halls. You aren't allowed to ask questions, unlike the Morgan Luttrell ones. You raise your hand, he'll get to you, or in my case, he's starting to make fun of me now. So, but we've worked it out. It's that we have that relationship, and I kind of, but when you're at her town halls, and I've been to 2 of them now, the first one, which we were supposed to raise our hand, she filled that time slot with electioneering for 15 minutes with Baker Ripley. Only 2 questions were asked by the audience, and none of them she wouldn't allow her to speak. This next one she had, you had to go to the computer, sign up to say you were going to be there, and then you had to fill out the question. And if she felt like it, she would respond to you. Morgan, even after the show is over, he'll shake your hand and just sit there and ask you your question right in front of you.
That's exactly what Paul had just written, by the way. You know, that's the thing is we've got to start looking at these politicians. Do they relate to the, and I'm just going to say it like this, we're all commoners here. We're just common people. There's nothing special about any one of us. But guess what? There's nothing special about any of them either. And yet, again, like I just heard all these titles, nothing about where it's going, how long it's going to be to maybe get something accomplished. I'm just disappointed. It's just again the blah 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 stuff. So it's sad that the people's questions won't be asked if she doesn't care to address them. A lot of times I look at this side of thinking as in, I would love for you guys, for instance, to ask me a question. Just, you know what? Why don't we do this? Play this real quick. Can we do that for a minute?
What?
Dakota, just ask me a question.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
It would be possible that he would know how if he only took the time, and he would. But seriously, folks, you have to be able to have that conversation. You got to be able to answer a question. That wasn't really a good question, by the way.
It's a philosophical question.
I have a question for you, sir.
Sure.
And it's probably a loose cannon, but here we go. Would you be willing to give up your guns if it would save a veteran?
I need my guns to protect the veterans. Are you kidding me? Oh, no. Oh, no.
There you go.
No.
That's the hard question. That's how you trip them up.
Yeah, and you know, that's the whole thing. They need to be prepared. I've noticed like a school board needs to know what you want to talk about so they can have that answer for you so wrapped up in a bow and pretty for you. And that's just the school board. I mean, we're talking, what is her title anyway? She's pretty gross. I mean, Congress.
Congress.
Yeah, Congress.
Congresswoman.
Congress.
She's horrible.
She's horrible. I agree with Vincent. She's horrible. She is so far left, and all the verbiage is right there. I really didn't realize until a few minutes ago that she was a Democrat until she started speaking. I was like, is she supposed to be a conservative?
Mm-mm.
No.
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 No, but we're going to hit everyone in our area and come try. What we're trying to do is bring awareness to us, because look at that. There's hardly anyone there. And this is the third largest city in the U.S., and she's in a big district. But I loved her cry her tears when she lost Cyprus. She does not
But she probably didn't let anybody know that, you know, she was having the town hall.
That's why she mentioned, well, they redrew the district lines.
Yeah, no.
You know what? The next time you see her, you should take some brawny paper towels, just one, and so this should be enough to last you for about a day. Brawny. I mean,
a quicker picker upper.
Before we continue, I will say her town halls, they're only allowed to have 1 hour. Usually that's how it is. Morgan, he'll just go on. He'll take almost every question.
He'll go on until he has to give.
Yeah, until his staff is getting pissed at him because they want to go home.
Yeah.
So let's keep going. So what are let's look at the time.
Inflation Reduction Act, and that is hugely transformative climate legislation that we passed and was signed into law by the president last August. And then also the Safer Communities Act, and we got a lot of questions about gun violence. So I just want to mention that that is another priority for our task force, is to make sure that the work we've done to try to help keep our communities safer from gun violence is also being implemented across the country. So that's the charge of the Regional Leadership Council. I'm going to sort of jump through this slide, but it's really all about the kinds of things that we're seeing because of the bills that we passed in the last Congress to invest in America. Really, really important work. Okay, now, I put the summary slide at the end and you'll understand why, but in addition to those big bills, there are some things that we've been able to do for our community, and it's only been in the last couple of years that we have brought back a process that started in the 117th Congress to have community-funded projects. And this is an opportunity, again, to make sure that we get funding to all of our districts for projects that matter to our community. So I've highlighted a couple, I'll get to the end, but one of them, I applied for it and was able to get grants for 15 projects across the district. Of course, this was in the 117th Congress, so the lines were a little bit different. We are working very closely right now with Judge George and others to make sure that we are looking at projects in Fort Bend County, in Sugar Land, and across the 7th
and the
District.
buses are being investigated.
One that received a lot of excitement was a $5 million grant for Metro to make improvements to the 82 Westheimer line, which is not only the most traveled line in Houston, but the most traveled line in all of Texas. So that is going to help the Metro system. Also, another hugely important project, the kind of thing that I'm really proud to be a partner with, in this case, Harris County, in rolling out funds from the American Rescue Plan and making sure that we were funding our state and local governments during the pandemic. And the city of Houston chose to create a program, not the city of Houston, Harris County chose to create a program called Access Harris to help those who most need access to services, healthcare, and other services, and to coordinate that care, to help remove some of the barriers to access. And so what we have seen is a great investment from Harris County, and then we were able to leverage that and ask for a grant for, it's a little over $1 million for Harris County to run this Access Harris program. And then there are also some infrastructure investments in there. So one of the ones that we highlighted is intersection improvements at Harlan and Hillcroft. Another really important thing where I just had a meeting today with other folks who were concerned about street crossings and sidewalks and making sure that, you know, it's safe to get across our community. We have some just really incredible different areas with a lot of life and activity throughout the district, but some of the infrastructure and some of the pedestrian improvements and bike improvements are definitely needed to have multimodal transit options. So this is a $3 million project in Southwest Houston. The full list is here, and I won't go through all of it, but I will say one project we are working very hard to move across the finish line. We got $10 million for Harris County flood control to do for farm ditch improvements. That is from Greenway Plaza down to Brace Bio. The year before, we got another $10 million for Harris County Flood District to do the Meyer Grove Detention Basin. So that's another great sort of opportunity and investment. But we've worked with public libraries, and obviously there's the library here. There are other opportunities just to make sure that people have access to care and access to the services they need wherever they are. So healthcare, we're going to roll out, we haven't done it yet, but we did get funding for a maternal mortality study here. Again, that was for Harris County, but I think it will help our entire region. And it's just really important to be doing all the things we can to help across our community. So I will take this opportunity to say, actually, I'm not sure this is in the, it is in the annual report, I think. For those of you who want to know a little bit more about either the legislation I did last year, or these community funded projects, you can find on my website report for every year that I've been in office, and it's very beautiful. I have to say our team really put together something fantastic. So I'm just flagging, you can find out more about all this stuff, and I'm going to introduce you to our team in a second too, for those of you who don't know them. But these are the community funded projects. More information on the website. As I said before, we're working on this year's community funded projects, working with City of Houston, Harris County, Fort Bend County, City of Sugar Land, Harris County Flood Control, and others. So stay tuned. We'll have those announcements pretty soon. Now, that's the beginning of the process. We have to get it through the appropriations process. So that's a heavier lift. And as many of you know, as you're watching the news, there's a lot of debate about the budget, the debt ceiling, what we're going to do. So we are moving ahead, and we are submitting our projects, and we're going to work very hard to make sure that all of these projects and the continue to get funded, and that the House passes a budget, the Congress passes a budget. When I was sworn in for the first time in 2019, we were in a government shutdown, and all of us.
What are your thoughts?
I'm sorry. It's a public service announcement from Washington, D.C. You know, she said, stay tuned. We got another public service announcement coming to you.
And all I could think of hearing was bleep, bleep, bleep. That's all, folks.
Yeah, she doesn't say what she's doing. The American Rescue Plan, this is Houston. Did you know the VA got a big chunk of that money? And in a hearing that happened a few weeks ago, within 2 to 3 weeks, they asked where the money went to, and they don't know. But I'm telling you right now, why do they still have COVID money? COVID's over. Give it back.
Give it back is what they should do. Correct. Give it back. You don't need it.
Well, technically, it's not over until the 24th of next month.
Well, the other thing is this. Look at
they got to draw the interest off of the money incurred.
But the other thing is you have to look at all these politicians that received, by the way, to their family members, for example, of their businesses of like $500,000 here, 300,000 there, and yet their businesses were what? A 2-seated barbershop at best, and they get $500,000 for a 2-seated barbershop. There's so much of stealing, of taking that it hasn't been appropriately funded to some of these businesses, and again attached to a lot of these. Well, they're getting there. They're getting there right now.
Well, all I can say is the Democrat Party is nothing but one big, huge, whopping Ponzi scheme.
And she's saying nothing without saying anything. Look at my book. Look at the book. Look, a book. This is a town hall. Grow up.
Yeah.
It gets worse from here, guys. This is going to be so like.
Look how pretty this is. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Anyways, let's keep going.
And then know the devastating impacts of that. So we want to make sure that we continue to fund the government and keep everything operating.
She sounds just like Nancy Pelosi.
A couple quick things that I'm going to point out about sort of how we do stuff, and then I don't know what I did with my phone, and I'm not good on time, so someone just tell me. But I mentioned before, the best way for us to know whether it's legislation you're interested in or issues that you care about, the things that either, it's something specific, like we want you to support HR 12, which is the Women's Health Protection Act, which we got some questions about, ensuring the right to make our own decisions about our own bodies. That bill, you can call and say, please support HR 12, or you can say, I'm concerned about this issue. We've got a great team that is here to help and to work on that. We have a legislative team up in Washington that works on all this legislation, all these bills that we've done, caucuses and other things. And we have a lot of folks who travel through, whether they're coming with a group or coming on their own. And so I always love the chance to visit with folks when I'm in DC when I can. This is a representation of some of the meetings we've had with some of our constituents just this quarter. Also, I think I have another slide. Sometimes if I'm in a hearing or I'm voting or something else, our team meets with folks. Indeed, that's true in DC as well as here in Houston, because obviously there are a lot of things that happen in our community. Look at Washington, look at me. We have a great team here. And with that, I want to make sure that you all know who is on our team. Conveniently, they are wearing shirts, so that helps. But I'm just going to start and go around the room.
Thank God for that.
Met Shirley, our district director, who got us started. Shirley Martinez, who
that's how stupid it is. We don't know that people are wearing t-shirts.
They started clapping. They started clapping for this lady, but I also noticed in the beginning, the minute when she said we need to fund the government, and everyone sits there clapping.
They don't know what she's saying. That's what it is they're there because they want to get seen. They don't really these issues. And the only ones that really care about the issues are actually the ones that are protesting. But it gets way more cringe. Way more cringe. I just had to take a break before it. But anyways, I got to tell you, her counter is up to, okay, that's 100.
Gotta be 78.
No. It's 134 is her counter.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. See it.
She's been with me almost since day one when I got here, and she's our district director. She spent 20 years working for Congressman Gene Green before coming over to Texas's 7th Congressional District, and she is fantastic and works with, I'm going to go with Fatima is next to her, who works on constituent services. And Fatima has been with us almost as long and is now really the point person with Sarah Bullard,
Fatima dealt with her.
who works on constituent services. So every time you call our office and tell us, and I've got a slide on this too, but that you need help with your passport, or you have an issue with USCIS, or that you can't get your Social Security. We had a question about unemployment. We actually helped with unemployment during the pandemic as well. But generally, it's help with federal agencies.
No, you didn't.
A lot of calls about IRS. A lot of calls during the pandemic about the PPP loans, other things. Our constituent services team is there to help you, and I'm so proud of them. I'm totally skipping ahead on the slides, but since 2019, since January of 2019, we've closed more than 10,000 cases for our constituents.
Yeah, because you don't finish them, you close
We're
them.
on 10,500, and we're basically almost at 750 for just the last 3 months. So, you know, it really is our privilege to be able to serve this community, and we're here to help you. And I always like to remind people of that, because it wouldn't have occurred to me to call my member of Congress about some of these things until I knew that that's what we did. And so everybody should have a little flyer at your seat. Please take it home if you already have one, and grab it off the empty seats. Give it to a friend who might need help, because there are a lot of good things that we can do here to be helpful. It also has our office locations on the other side, and I have a slide on that too, but I'm obviously going out of order. But that's sort of constituent services. We also have other folks who are in our office working on our team, again, almost since the beginning. And I see right next to Sarah is Spencer, who some of y'all probably already know. Spencer's our operations director. And he started back in 2019 too. So we've had a great team that's worked together for a long time, and so Spencer is out and about in the community, especially when I can't be here, as is Bryson over here against the wall. Many of y'all know Bryson, and he started as an intern with us, and has been with the team for a long time. Andrea back here with the camera is also kind of OG team Texas 7, and so she takes all the beautiful pictures. She does all these incredible graphics. She made this annual report. She does the annual report every year. She did the flyer. She does our social media. She takes pictures, and she makes everybody look good. So you can always count on her for that. And then I think, as I'm going around the room, the last but certainly not least, I'm very excited. She's here as my chief of staff, Sarah Kaplan-Feynman. Sarah is born and raised in the district, but had been working on the Hill for about 10 years when I got elected, and so she was really excited about the chance to work for her home district, and has been in charge of our team since day one in 2019, and really before, because you have to set up your office before you get sworn in. So anyway, that is our team that's here today. I also see some alumni in the house. I see Claudia, it's great to see you. Anyway, we've got a great team that's really here to serve you. And so you can see in this picture kind of variety.
You are going to talk about a flyer and who developed it. Oh, look, somebody can take pictures.
Sis Bamboo, yay! Rah, 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 kick him in the knee.
I have to ask Kimberly, Dakota, did you get a couple boxes of those flyers by chance? Did you tell them you knew some people you wanted to give them to?
No.
Gosh, it would have been great if you could have gotten a dolly in there and said, "Hey, I need some toilet paper."
I don't believe in wasting government money.
Well, me neither. But apparently she does. I mean, that is the end. Please, dear God, tell me it's the end.
No.
Hang on,
Because right at this time, she's having a back pat and cheerleading.
Yeah, just that's all this part of it is just everyone just clapping their hands for the staff who really don't do all
the
that.
mutual. It's called the Mutual Admiration Society.
Yeah,
that's what I call it anyway.
The masses.
We are at 170 so far.
Now, are you distinguishing between the and the or the for them?
An is an and
All
right. We don't have very much.
Oh, y'all keep making those sounds. I'm gonna break into my supper down here because you're making me hungry. Because it sounds like you're going yum yum yum.
And by the way, Sean, thank you for that last comment. Not related at all, but I think a tree is getting very thirsty. Here you go. This one went to my nut.
Let's go.
I'm stealing from that one from you, Sean.
One of the things that we try to do out and about in the community, I will say, if you have something going on, we would love to know about it. We'd love to participate. I'd love to come if I can, or somebody on the team would love to come and hear what's happening and what's important to you. And I'll sort of say, we do these quarterly town halls to give you an update, but it's really important for me to see the things that matter most to you and to show up to your meetings and to your events. And so I appreciate the invitation when you
I want to show up.
there are some programs that we run, that we do, and we started doing them again this year. Obviously, there were a few challenges during the pandemic, but we were back this year in person to deliver Valentine's to our veterans in February. I do a program called Across the Aisles, where we'll go to a store with aisles, so it could be just about anything, but tends to be the grocery store, and let people know when I'll be there, and then people can come and ask questions. We had a great one a couple of weeks ago, and so we try to do that when I'm in town. And then we have a few competitions, and I'm going to show you, I have a slide on this too, but we have a congressional art competition coming up, and obviously we're at our town hall right now. And then just getting out and about, like I said, visiting, doing site visits, talking to people where they are, has been really important. So those are just a few pictures of things we've been doing this year. The opening of the A-Leaf Community Center. Oh, look, there's Judge George, and there's Sheriff Fagan. Oh, and there's Commissioner McCoy, who's here with us today. Thank you so much for coming, Commissioner. But if there's not, we met in his office and he's super helpful. So we've had great meetings talking to folks here at home, connecting with our federal agencies, just making sure that people are connected across the district. And you can see a lot of these things, including this one, if you sign up for my weekly newsletter. So some of y'all may already get that. These pictures may be old news to you because you've already seen them. But these are.
She doesn't announce her
we've been able to do
across the aisles in her
this spring
newsletters
as
like
well,
she does.
welcoming some really important people to Houston. The second gentleman, Chuck Imhoff, and the SBA administrator.
Oh, finally, an intelligent conversation.
Who is incredible.
That dog getting here, Sally.
We happen to have a great SBA in this region, and we work very closely, especially when there's pandemic, our SBA folks to help.
Oh God, I couldn't hold that in.
But they're there all the time. I see Fatima nodding her head. We have a great division here, and so we've gotten to work with them. We also put together a little roundtable for the representative, Ambassador Catherine Tai, who came to visit us. And she really wanted to see.
I think it's good here in a minute.
So we went to that too,
on.
which is not in the pictures, but it was really great to take some first rodeo.
It was great to be
so I
seen at the
mentioned
rodeo.
constituent services and the kinds of things we do, and you can see pictures of our team here with folks we've been able to help.
We need to be told that we can see pictures, you guys. I don't know how I got through life without her.
So special.
And we have just such dedicated people who work to help with every kind of crisis and has really been so critical to the support that we're able to give our community. So really proud of them. There's a little note at the bottom that I'll just mention: educational opportunities and tours, flags, and certificates. So I'll just throw in, we do have internships. We have internships basically spring and fall and in the summer. So for anyone who might be interested in that, we have those programs. And then also for anyone who's coming to Washington, we can help you with your trips. Certainly we'd love to give you a tour of the Capitol and meet with you. But also,
is she running a travel agency?
From our office. Those are some of the kinds of things.
Not
we can do.
well.
I'm just gonna do a
She's our
quick plug
scrapbooker in
for
chief.
The Congressional Award. One of my favorite things to do at the town halls that I haven't had a chance to do in a while is present the Congressional Award to
No one
students
wants it from
in
you,
our
lady.
community. It is self-selected. You can sign age 24, and you basically set your own goals and achieve them, and then you get this Congressional Award. It's voluntary, it's nonpartisan, it's just a great opportunity to do.
That never made sense to me.
Set some priorities and challenges, and I love getting to give those
Sure.
out. So since we didn't have any to give out today, I would love to encourage you to share that with somebody you know who's young, who might appreciate the opportunity to do something. It's usually quite a long process and really impressive. And then the other thing for young people that you know is the Congressional Art Competition. Every year we
She's mentioned that 3 times
receive
right
art
now.
from students across
It's all over the
district.
flyers.
And it happens in every district across the country, and then the winner is selected, and their art gets to be hung in the Capitol, in the tunnel between the office buildings and the Capitol for a year. So it's incredibly cool. We've had beautiful art from our district every year that I've been there. I have a panel of experts that makes the decisions and selects the art. I do not choose it myself, but for the finalists, we pick 10 finalists. 1 winner goes to Washington, and the other 9 we hang in our office. And so everyone who visits the office can come and see the incredible talent of students in our district. So those submissions are coming up April 21st, and I just want to flag that for any art teachers, parents, aunts, uncles, friends who might know someone who
Would you like to go to Lizzie Fletcher's office and look at mediocre artwork?
As I mentioned before, my weekly newsletter goes out on Fridays now, and hopefully you all get it. I don't know, show of hands, how many people get the newsletter? Okay, great, love it. For anybody who's not signed up yet, there's information on the website and on the flyer that's in your chair. But that I try to give you an update on what's happened, what we're voting on, what we're doing, who I'm meeting with. Just to
We
make
can
sure,
read it in the
that you have
freaking
that
letter.
information,
Duh.
and talk a little bit about, you know, what's
She's
happening.
just hoping they all can read.
She's filibustering is what she's doing.
I think this is the last slide.
Filibus, filibus, filibus.
It is.
Here's the last slide.
This is just more how to get in touch, stay in touch. We have our office in Washington.
But
which I
she's already
mentioned,
showed the
the
numbers and the
office,
building addresses on the
Freeway
flyers.
Plaza, and then our Sugar Land office is opening soon. We're in the final stages. Once we go
Morgan
to
Luttrell
permits.
only has one office,
So hopefully
by
it's
the way.
opening in
Why
a
does she
couple of
need
weeks.
2?
We'll keep everybody posted, but we're really excited. We'll have an office. The address is not up there, but it's right at 59 and Highway 6. So it'll be a great, hopefully
2 and
closer,
2.
more convenient place to meet and have a chance either when I'm in
not
town
actually
or when our
in Sugar
constituent service team
No.
is around, and we'll set that up, and look forward to seeing y'all there. And then, you know, the emails, there's information on the website. You can check my vote record. You can see how I voted every week. We try to just put all of that out there. You can also follow on social media, and so we put that out there as well. And so that's kind
Wonder
of
she's
how
on
it's not
TikTok.
everything that we've been doing, but that's kind of a summary of what
I
we've
don't
been
want
doing
to
this
be
year.
horrified
And
if you
then
watch.
I know, because I see some in the audience who sent in some of these questions. I know we asked for
Here you go,
questions.
the vetted questions.
And I appreciate getting the questions. So
Of
that
course
we
you
can
do, so you
kind
can
of
say, oh,
group
this
them,
one's easy.
and cover a variety of topics that you're interested in.
Pre-screen them.
So these are, how much time do we have? Okay.
Well, how much time do we
I'm gonna
have?
try to get through all of these questions that came in, and but we did it
How
basically by
much time do we
topic
have?
here.
I've wasted. I'm only going to
in terms
get
of
10
volume,
minutes
the most
left
questions submitted
for
about
questions.
gun violence, gun safety, gun violence prevention.
Did the guy in the black hat fall asleep?
Some of the questions that came in, and try not to be too repetitive. But Carol sent.
Oh no, he's awake.
As a retired principal and teacher and now grandparent of elementary students, I'm devastated by all the mass shootings taking the lives of our children. Please tell
I
me
got
if
mad
Congress can
right
enact
there.
meaningful legislation to ban assault weapons, enact background checks, and red flag laws. Mary Margaret asked a similar question, as did Diane, as did Batul. Robert asked, when will Congress ban AR-15s? And Deborah asked, what can we do to enact gun control? So this has been an issue ever since I first took office in 2019. For pretty much the entire year, the number one issue that people called our office about was asking to support common sense background checks. There was a bill then, HR 8, which was a priority of the House Democrats to pass background check laws. And just sort of for those who haven't heard this before, the House majority prioritizes its top 10 priorities, and those are the first 10 bills in any Congress, HR 1 through HR 10. And then the minority party gets HR 11 to HR 20 reserved for them. After that, it's a free-for-all, and it's just as you file, you get a number on your bill. But those represent the priorities of the parties. And so for us, in both the 116th and the 117th Congress, HR 8, the bipartisan background checks bill, was the priority. We passed it in the last two Congresses. I have co-sponsored it again in this Congress. It's been introduced this time by a Republican colleague, and he's been a sponsor of it the entire time. And that is one piece, but certainly not the only piece. But improving our background check system is hugely important. There's other background check legislation as well. I am proud that last year, for the first time in 30 years, we passed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act that did do several important things. Now, generally, and a challenge for those of us here in Texas, of course, is that it helps the states that choose to enact certain laws, like red flag laws, enhancing background checks, having provisions to have enhanced background checks for buyers under 21. Some of the very common sense things that people in our district have asked me to support, and that I do support. So that bill largely makes it possible in states, but it is the first time, and I think it's worth noting, first time in 30 years we've been able to get gun safety legislation through the Congress, and I think it's the beginning, not the end. And I think that that's just really important for us to understand.
Wait. You support red flag laws for women who want to have babies inside the VA? I was there at your last town hall. You didn't let a single female veteran speak. You didn't even let a single veteran speak. How dare you? And you vet your questions just now. Don't be happy I have it all recorded. I accidentally...
Go get her, girl!
I did. I could not sit there and listen to it anymore. I couldn't. But I hit the phone.
The stop recording.
I didn't mean to. But
hey, you know what? I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You stood up and you said it.
No. Once I sat there and I told her, because I couldn't hear it anymore. I couldn't hear it because she was like trying to support states with red flags. And I was like, I'm done.
Well, that's why I asked if the protesters up there were for or against her, because all the venom and the lies that she was spewing was straight out of something Nancy Pelosi would have said.
So what happened is you hear everyone going boo, boo, boo against everyone else. The guy in front of me told me to sit down and shut up, and then his wife turned him around. She's like, no, I want to hear this. She wanted to hear me. And then everyone was like in the room. I got text messages. I got messages after the event. And people were like, oh my God, I heard that you ruined Lizzie Fletcher's event. Because at that point, I said my piece and leave. I don't want to hear her garbage anymore. But when I sat there and I said, there is no labor and delivery department inside the VA, she was like, you're right. You're right, there isn't. I'm like, and you pass abortion, and I told even to Democrats that are pro-choice, you can't sit there and pass abortion and not be able to have babies. And they were just like, oh shit, they were pissed.
You can't be pro-choice if there's no choice.
That's right.
So it was but she's like, I'm done. I said I'm done. I was done. I was just gonna leave. But she did admit, I will say this, give it to her, that she did tell the truth, that there is no labor and delivery. But then she tried to say, well, at the last town hall, there was a panel of veterans. And then I said, I have it recorded. I have the whole thing. Everyone go check it out on YouTube. And she was just like,
oops.
Shit. So
we had a repeat guest. We're in trouble, Houston.
Well, you get to get outsourced to community care for your daughter was just born. However, here at the Houston one, we don't get to get outsourced because it was COVID-19. So what happens is there's this group called Pediatrics Medical Group, and they hook up with not Optum, but TriWest. The doctors don't exist anymore on the community care webpage. It's crazy looking. The buildings are empty. Some have been abandoned. I know I drove to them. And then they have the same doctors and have not updated their system. We are working on that. We have shown on our Facebook page. Actually, go to our YouTube page. Check it out. You'll find that we found 10 urgent care clinics in the Houston area.
Mm-hmm.
So there is, I know this afterwards, they did fire the community care coordinator for maternity care over my situation. However, let's go ahead and roll that video. She said about my case.
Gone.
Oh, you got rid of it?
No, I didn't get rid of it. It's just it fell out because
okay,
I had
pull it
too
up
many
then.
windows.
Sean's correct here. The VA does need a nationwide standard to go with community care. It's amazing how one state fluctuates from the next. I'm positive of that from what I talked to with other veterans.
Well, and the VA needs a nationwide standard. Here it is.
I'm sorry, I know the question is about hearing aids. I think there's another question here relating to non-veterans issues, which I couldn't hear over your question, but I think the question is about hearing aids at the VA. So I'm just going to go ahead and.
Again, in that video, y'all can watch the whole video on Facebook. We do have it, or YouTube.
On YouTube,
we'll reload it on load it on Rumble. But no, she flat out said that's a non-veteran issue. I did not approve. I will say this: how those ladies were standing up in the middle of their allotted time. But of course, I'm a hypocrite because I did it at this town hall. I would rather, give people the benefit of the doubt. And be respectful. But when she flat out lied about me and lied about our issue and the fact that I actually have phone records of her calling me. I never called Lizzie Fletcher. She called me about my issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says it's a non-veteran issue. But anyways, at the end of everything, it was deer in headlights, pretty much when I set up and speak. And we had a bunch of conservatives in that crowd, and they were just like, oh my God. And what were the faces like of everyone else?
Oh, so everyone's it was just utter shock. It was in the room. All the protesters that were up there, the people holding signs, it was their heads were turned and their jaws dropped so fast the tape fell off their mouths. And I'm serious. Now you can laugh all you want. That's what happened. And the thing is, you saw what happened with those protesters, how everyone was booing, telling them to shut up. There wasn't a single person who stood up against Kim, except for that one man whose wife got onto him. Says, sit down, I want to hear her talk.
Yep.
Well, it's like this. You were actually saying something and not chanting a protest. You had a voice and you used it. And for that young lady, I applaud you.
Now, how many minutes do these people actually get to speak or ask a question to them? know that's
I went at the VA town hall, 5 minutes.
That's not bad. I mean, 5 minutes, you should be able to get out what you kind of need to say.
No. The public speaking hour or the public speaking segment where you ask a question is only 5 minutes.
So you've got, say, 35 people to 40 in a room, and they all have
30 seconds to ask the question.
And yeah, well, it actually comes down to about probably 7.8. So what I'm getting at is that's just wrong. And the people over talking people, they have a tendency of getting angry. Let's face it, we really get angry in the long run when you're constantly always trying to ask something, but someone else jumps in, another person jumps in. Next thing you know, you've got a whole bunch of frogs sitting on top of one another.
Right.
Yeah.
But majority, everyone is very respectful. But I've noticed this. Lizzie Fletcher, I've been to 2 town halls. They are not civil at all.
Well, there's maybe 25 people there?
And here's the thing. A lot of them aren't Democrats. They're concerned, conservative people in their area. That's it. Because I do know the one that a person was sitting in the audience who was about to run against Lizzie Fletcher. And
well, I hope they win.
I do too.
Because all she's doing, she's Nancy Pelosi version 2. She's reading off of the script, excuse me. She's reading the script off of the Democrat prep website.
Oh yeah, and I just think she's telling people, "Hey, we've got an office in Washington." We know that. Just, duh. That's why you're in Congress. I can't believe it. But anyways, everyone, our counter went up to 225.
Awesome.
When are you going to drop the bomb on her? When are you going to let her know? Drop the bomb on her.
I do have plans for what she's doing. I have been instructed by a certain chair of Congress, and I will leave it at that.
I hope they've given you some questions to ask her. I think I just picked up this new tick. I'll stop.
I can't even do it. It's making me cringe.
Well, yeah. Well, there for a minute when she was flipping through her pages, it kind of resembled Uncle Joe, lost and looking for stuff.
I was thinking it was a mixture of both of Kamala or Kamala. Now, Ukraine, you see, it's a country.
But you know,
then they're totally clueless.
Yeah, we're a Congress office. We have an office in Washington. Look, it's a flyer. And my staff made it and designed it along with the book. Look how pretty it is.
I thought I was at a.
That was as bad as Joe Biden's wife calling Kamala president.
That's okay. Joe Biden's actually called her president many times too. Everyone just looks at her as, oh my God, we're actually all thinking the same thing. I think.
Yeah. Well, guys,
we're
coming up on the 2-hour mark, or actually we've passed it.
Yeah, passed it.
It is also the holiday weekend. God bless you guys. We thank you for joining us. We'd like to thank our friends at Common Denominator Network. Thank you, Mama Sally. Thank you, Vincent, for joining us tonight and our obnoxious town hall that we had tonight. Please feel free, veterans, if you need anything, give us a shout out. Hold on.
Hey, guess what? Real quick, if I may, real quick.
Yeah.
Kamala Tyrus likes to put bongos to Kamala. What I would like for you to consider doing, I'm just going to go there. Bring a recorder, and when she goes, go. Just a little, and you'll be like Newt from Herc. Hey, Herc. Hey, Herc.
No, we play a note to Hot Cross Buns each time in sequence.
Oh my God.
Listen to how many times we play the whole song.
Okay, go.
You're so bad, Vincent. You're so bad.
And you know what, Dakota? I've got your instrument. Harmonica.
No, it's a kazoo, obviously.
Yeah,
That is the obvious choice.
Kazoo and recorder, you guys can make her famous.
I play a mean kazoo, Vincent.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Veterans, again,
guys.
don't forget to reach out if you need anything. We are here 24/7, especially for suicide. So God bless and take care.
Make sure you count all your Easter eggs and don't miss any.
Right. Thank you,
Sean,
guys.
Hey, Sean, I'll be the daisy. There you go. You guys have a great night.
Thank you guys again for joining us.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you,
very
guys.
much.
All right. Bye. Okay. Let me click.
Oh, we're looks like you and me against the world.
Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn they're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of men on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.